Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm so excited for because it's going to be my May TBR. Now, I feel like for the first time in a long time, I actually know what I feel like reading, and my TBR for this month I'm so excited about. It's also a really nice mix of genres. I have a little bit of fantasy, sci-fi, literary fiction, contemporary romance. All of the books are very much calling out to me and I honestly cannot wait to dive right in. The first three books on my May TBR are all contemporary romance reads, all also recent releases that are getting a lot of hype and buzz, so I want to do a little bit of a romance reading vlog to cover these newer releases, and I think it's going to be so much fun. The first one shouldn't be too much of a surprise, and I'm sure is gracing a lot of TBRs at the moment, and that is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I basically marathoned pretty much all of Emily Henry's books last summer and adored the reading experience of every single one. I feel like she has such great characters, really lovely writing, and a lot of heart at the center of her stories, while also having great romantic pacing, romances you can root for, and a variety of tropes that also just make her book so much fun. Obviously, like a lot of you guys, I have really been anticipating her new release for this summer, and I'm going to be reading and vlogging the experience. And we are back with a new story that centers writers once again, and I could not be more excited. Our first main character in the story is named Alice, and she's a very positive and very happy woman who's also looking to make her first big break in writing. The other main character is Hayden, who is like the human equivalent of a storm cloud and is also a Pulitzer Prize winning author. These two writers are kind of finding themselves unexpectedly in each other's life because they're both vying for the opportunity for the biography of a lifetime for this very famous figure. And this person's named Margaret. She's invited both of them to like her remote island home, and she basically begins to give pieces of her life to each of them as they begin to compile it together. A book that centers writing, a little bit of a competition, and I also really appreciate like a remote summer island setting and a mysterious older figure at the heart of it. I feel like this is going to be so good, so entertaining. I can't wait. The next contemporary romance book on my list is of course Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez, I feel like, is another contemporary romance author that combines elements of great individual character work with romances you can root for. This is her new installment following our main characters Xavier and Samantha, who first very much get off on the wrong foot but then have like a perfect, very long first date, but then Samantha realizes that she has to confront some very important things in her life, begs Xavier to forget her, and I believe some like time passes from there and then they possibly meet up again in the future. I love a second chance romance. I've previously also enjoyed this author's writing quite a bit, so I'm crossing my fingers. And then the last book that's on my contemporary romance TBR is Passion Project. This was a recent pickup for me from Book of the Month, and I have since seen so many amazing things about this book online, and the premise also sounds really interesting and also a little bit inspiring. And this follows our main character Bennett, and Bennett is struggling. She lives in New York City and she feels like these years of her life are supposed to be the best years of her life, but instead she's feeling lost, without direction, and also struggling with depression. She decides to kind of spontaneously go on a first date, gets drunk, and basically spills her heart out to this guy, telling him that she's just like doesn't know what she wants to do. And then from there they begin to go on these like adventure dates together where they try a new thing every week so Bennett can find her passion in life. Again, I feel like this is going to have a great balance between emotion, individual character journeys, with of course a romance to root for. I love anything set in New York City. I think this is going to be super cute and fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Moving on, I of course have some fantasy novels on my TBR. First is The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie. This is the third and final book to the Age of Madness series. I've been on a roll with this series this year. Every single one that I've read so far, the first two books have been 5-star reads for me, and I really want to wrap up the trilogy before I forget too much. I'm also just dying to see how the story is going to conclude because again, I've loved the characters in this world immensely. Joe Abercrombie also has a new standalone release coming out this month, which I would love to get to as well, but I'm not sure I'll be able to fit into my TBR, but I'll be reading Abercrombie regardless. This is essentially the 9th book in this world created by Joe Abercrombie, which is a grim, dark fantasy world full of characters with a lot of gray morality that are incredibly unpredictable, lots of violence, warfare, politics, backstabbing, scheming, basically all you could ever want in a fantasy story. Over the course of all of these books, we've actually moved on from one generation to another, so some time has definitely passed, and in this new generation, economic advancement and innovation have been on the rise, but so have various like labor movements as well, so there's just essentially a lot of unrest. In this trilogy, we're introduced to a a whole new slew of young characters, and I'm honestly obsessed with all of them. Some of them I hate, some of them I love, but I definitely cannot put the book down regardless of who I'm reading from. The first two books were literally perfect. The second one in particular blew me away, and I just need to know what's going to happen to one of my favorite characters or so. So third book, we're gonna finish it. The next book on my TBR is a book that I feel like has been floating on many TBRs now ever since it came out. And the book is The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. This is Lev Grossman's like reinterpretation of a Arthurian tale and legend. I love retellings, and I've honestly been wanting to read this book right when it came out, and for one reason or another, I've just been putting it off. I recently finished Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, and that book really put like King Arthur vibes back on the map for me, so I'm really craving to read this very soon, perhaps even next. This story follows our main character Colum, who's a very gifted young knight, and he has just traveled to Camelot to compete for an opportunity to join the Round Table. But with his arrival, he also realizes he has come too late. The big battle has occurred, King Arthur died like 2 weeks ago, and now everything is sort of in chaos, and the only people that remain are kind of the cast-offs of the Round Table, and he basically begins to work alongside them to take on like new threats, and hopefully try to bring a new age of like peace and prosperity to the land. It sounds like it could be like an endearing mix of things with Lev Grossman's beautiful writing style. It's a little long, which I also think is why I haven't picked it up quite yet, but it really feels like it's full of so many things I personally love. The next two books on my TBR are two pieces of translated Japanese fiction. I'm traveling to Japan again in the month of May, so I actually wanted to bring these to read while I'm traveling there, so I thought that would be quite fun. And they're both short, so I feel like I have like a high probability of success because I'm actually kind of bad at reading while I'm traveling. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but the first one is Tokyo Aneo Station by Yu Miri. This, I believe, is a darker, more emotional read, and specifically we're following a ghost that haunts a subway station in Tokyo. And this ghost's name is Kazu, and through his eyes we see the daily life in Tokyo buzz around him and learn the intimate details of his story, how society's inequalities and constrictions spiral towards his ghostly fate, with moments of beauty and grace just out of reach. I also believe this has ties to Japan's history with the imperial family, and it's said to be a masterwork of Japanese literature coming from one of Japan's most famous writers. The other work of Japanese fiction on my list is Convenience Store Woman. This, I believe, is a little bit of a lighter but still very strange and poignant read. Specifically, we're following our main character who's worked in a convenience store for most of their life, and this is a story kind of recounting a variety of strange moments that's happened to them in this convenience store. I love that this takes place in kind of a stationary location. I feel like it's going to have a lot of introspection, and I also hear it's like quite funny, so I feel like this could be a really wonderful read as well. The next book on my TBR is a YA fantasy novel, and one that I'm surprised I haven't read yet, and that is Children of Ragnarok by Cinda Williams-Chima. If you've watched my channel, especially in the past, you would know that one of my favorite writers of all time is Cinda Williams-Chima. I have read essentially every single one of her books she has released since middle school. She has been putting out books for a long time, and I have been reading and enjoying them for a long time as well. This is the first book to a newer series she has put out, and I haven't started it yet, which really feels shocking to me, but I think again with reading Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, I'm kind of in the mood for some more YA fantasies, so I thought, you know what, let's put this on my TBR because I'm dying to get to it. This again is a brand new multi-POV fantasy series by this author. She's really fantastic at creating like all these disparate storylines and bringing them together in a really satisfying fashion. This is inspired by Norse mythology, which also sounds quite fun. This book takes place after Ragnarok, this massive war between gods and humans, and in a place called the Midlands, which is sort of struggling with the aftermath of, again, this massive conflict. Throughout the story, we're following the lives of a group of young people on the precipice of a variety of very significant moments and difficult trials that they have to go through. The story also centers magic, unexpected connections to gods, friendship, romance, I'm sure, and I'm pretty certain I'm going to love this, so I have to read this. Next up, I've been craving some weirder fantasy stories, so I grabbed two off my shelf that I feel like are going to be perfect for this vibe. The first is The City in Glass by Nevo. I have read some other books by Nevo, and their writing style is truly stunning. Just the lyrical quality of it, and the setup of this book in particular sounds like it would be perfect for me if I'm being honest. And this is a story that centers a city. And one demon has basically been ruling over this city now for a very, very long time. It has a deep love and connection to the people that are here, the art and how it's grown and changed through time, but everything sort of changes once the angels attack and destroy everything. And one angel is sort of cast down to exist within this city for the crime of destroying it, and I believe the demon demon and the angel begin to work alongside each other in some capacity to bring this city back again. Sounds weird, but I really love weird. So I'm hoping this is just like stunning. Again, I love Niveau. I feel like this could be a knockout for me. Another weird book I've been meaning to read for forever is 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by KJ Parker. The synopsis of this book is like very dry in a way that I really appreciate. I also feel like it's again going to like hyper focus on like one specific thing and go into like great detail about it, and that is going to be one siege and battle centering our main character. And essentially we're following a city that's about to be destroyed, and the city's only hope is our main character, who has a lot more experience as an engineer building bridges than participating in battles. He's also a liar and a cheat, but he's also the city's only hope. The setup of the story just really called out to me. Again, I love sort of really isolated events explored deeply in fantasy stories. I feel like it has kind of a lit fic lean to it. This is also a trilogy, I want to say, and it's been one that I've been wanting to check out now for a very long time. Next up is a sci-fi novel following a motley crew living on a ship together, and that is a setup that basically always works for me, and the book is Retribution Falls. And this basically follows a ship full of individuals that are all kind of running from something, and they generally kind of skim the line between good and bad, and they're not usually involved in things like piracy, but when they're offered an opportunity to steal a chest of gems, which at the time feels like an easy job with a big payoff, they decide to take it. But of course everything goes wrong and they find themselves in the midst of a very complicated political scenario, and again that just sounds like a situation I need to read and find out what in the world is going to happen. Seems like it's going to be full of possibly found family, lots and twists and turns from a plot point of view, and like characters I feel like I'm going to really love. I just love a spaceship with a crew of characters that don't like each other in the beginning, but grow to like each other by the end. It just works every time. And then the last book on my TBR is one, again, I've had on my personal TBR now for many, many years. And again, feels like it's full of things that I personally love so much, but just haven't gotten to. That's kind of the theme for a lot of the books on this TBR, if you haven't noticed. The book I'm referring to is The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. This seems to be a thriller-esque story that uses time in a very interesting fashion. I love time-based thrillers. I love when there's multiple timelines. I love when things are confusing and twisted around, and based on the setup of the story, this is very much giving that. This follows our main character Joe, who has a bad case of amnesia, and he remembers nothing except for his first memories of stepping off this train in the French-controlled colony of England. The only clue that he has about his own past is a century-old postcard of a Scottish lighthouse that arrives in London a few days after his own arrival, written in the illegal language of English. And so begins like a very strange mystery where he's like trying to figure things out, alternate history, timelines that seem to be intersecting in weird ways. I am just so curious about this. And I bought it so many years ago, it's embarrassing I haven't read it yet. Alrighty guys, that is my May TBR. Please let me know down below some books you hope to get to soon, as I would love to know. And I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!